Hello YouTube land. I do have a video of why you should tilt your outboard motor down, especially in cold environments, to protect your lower unit. I do have a video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And even another fantastic thing to consider is by tilting your motor down, and if you're boating below freezing with an outboard motor, you absolutely, when you come out of the water, obviously you're going to have to tilt your outboard up to get it on the trailer. When you get it up on land, tilt it back down, of course, making sure your lower unit is not going to, touch the ground and get damaged. But you want to tilt it down and let the water drain. Outboard motors, as far as I know, I use a lot of motors from the 80s to the early, 2000s. Most of my motors are 2-cycle. So this is not pertaining to 4-cycle engines, because I haven't, had a desire to get one because of their weight and low out of the hole power. However, if you have a 2-cycle outboard, this is for you. You want to tilt it down and drain all the water out. The beauty of an outboard motor is you can go boating all winter long below freezing, but the key is to tilt it down, drain all that water out. And then, of course, while you're at the ramp, you drain the water out, because it don't take long to freeze if it's like 20 degrees. Once the water drains out, tilt it back up, and then go home, and then tilt it down again. And like I say, because your lower unit can fill up with water too. I do have a brief video on that. Your lower unit can fill up with water and it could freeze too. Hey, big boy. And you don't want that. You see, anybody considering buying an inboard outboard, I've had them. I've had a lot of them. They're great on gas, and they're quiet, reliable. They are a car engine, or the same principle as a car engine. Made for a boat. The marine engines usually have 4 main bearings. They're heavy duty because of all the stress and everything. However, if you are gonna get an inboard outboard, it is so well worth the money to get the integral cooling system heat exchanger. Now, inboard outboards are a real pain in the neck, in the wintertime. There's a lot to winterizing them. Maybe I'll do a video, because I do have one available. I do have a boat that's shot now, but I could use it for an example. You got to drain your exhaust manifolds. You got to drain the block. And it's very critical to get all the drain plugs, because otherwise, they freeze and your boat engine becomes an anchor. While outboard motors, especially what's great on small boats, duck hunter, whatever, as soon as you come out of the water, everything drains out. So an outboard is really a great choice for boating. Yes, the lines are not as clean as an inboard outboard, and you might live in Florida where you never have to worry about freezing. But if you are in a freezing environment, you definitely need to consider that. Another thing is you definitely want to fog your motors. I've had so many motors lock up. A lot of people worry about, wearing out their outboard motor or their boat engine. Well, let me tell you, I've been boating a very long time, And the only thing I've seen happen is usually the motors lock up before they wear out. Now there's a 140 looper. I believe it's a 94 I got. I got to change a motor mount on it, and I'm going to be putting it on there. I like the older, simpler outboard motors. It's just what I've been running for years, and I like the simplicity. You know, I'm not too crazy about all the computer stuff. OMC outboards, of course. My huge valuable tip there is avoid the fuel injected ones from, you know, the 90s to the early 2000s. They actually say that all of the problems with them coming back under the warranty actually helped sink OMC, which, you know, made Johnson and Evinrude outboards for years, and they were fantastic motors. I had an Evinrude 15, a 1984 that we bought brand new. My father bought it, and when he passed, he left it to me. And that motor was absolutely phenomenal. It would literally push this rowboat I had. I had a stainless steel prop on it, and I definitely believe I was in the mid to late 20 miles an hour, no problem. So with that being said, another little tip I'll give you is the older OMC Johnson and Evinrude outboards, if you're looking at used outboards, they had one major design flaw, in my opinion, and you'll see it all the time. I got this motor covered up. I really don't feel like digging it out, but let me see if I can. I'll just use the other outboard. They have the cross flows, you know, came out, I imagine, they came out in the early 70s, I believe. And they're very famous, great motors. And this one is a looper. Now the cross flow, their motor shroud it comes on, you know, it's got 245s and then the flat back. You can always tell a looper, it's a taller engine and it's got one big flat back. And the loopers have more power and better fuel economy. But one very crucial thing that I love is the thermostats. You know, this motor is covered up and I'm not going to deal with it for now, but the thermostats are up high and very easy to get. Now, the loopers, they are in, I'll show you. I forgot that. They are down in this area of the engine, and because of this shroud, it is very difficult to get off. And as a matter of fact, I have the cross flow on that other boat, and that's why I'm getting rid of it. I went to change the thermostats and just had a million problems. You can't get to it. Most guys cut the shroud. My shroud was cut, but the guy who did mine, he put on these crazy bolts that were weak and the head stripped, and he tapped it through the housing. And oh, as a matter of fact, I do have a cross flow here. I got a lot of motors, guys. Here's another project. As you can see, another huge thing is, you see them bare wires? That is from mice. And I'm telling you, they get into these engines. A tip I could give you is put dryer sheets in there. This one, I just cleaned out the nest, but that's what I'm going to do. I just read that, and I don't know if it's true. But, okay, this is a cross-flow engine. And Let me see if I could use this new feature. Let me see. Hold on, guys. All right, you can see that one bolt there, and then there's one on each side of that. Very difficult to get out. And like I say, most guys cut the housing. It was a bad design. I mean, really, it can, if you're the person that put it together, greased the bolts, and did it right, and didn't strip anything. You see, this is in pretty good shape. This motor, though, however, I'm not too crazy about the compression. 95, 195. I don't know. I might try getting it going. But mainly, I got it for parts. And this is the cross flow. So anyway, that's a huge problem. Where the looper outboard motors, the thermostats are here above the cylinder. Very nice to work on. And that's why I went to the looper, plus better gas economy and more power. And it has, it's not technologically a nightmare compared to the computers, where nowadays you need laptops to diagnose them. I like things simple, and as long as I can afford the fuel to run it, I plan on keeping it, keeping that way. I like it simple. I can work on them, and they last a really long time, and they're great, but they're gas hogs, that's for sure. I haven't tried out any new 4-cycle outboards. Eventually I may be forced into that. But I've been running, outboards, I'd say, from there, the later the better, but really the outboards started getting bulletproof and great, the 2-cycle ones, from, the mid 70s upward. You don't want an outboard with, the breakers and all of this. They're all, they're such a huge headache. I won't even touch it. I've had old outboard motors that ran great. But, maintenance-wise, they're a pain in the ass. It's just like a wooden boat. I had lots of wooden boats. This is a 17-foot, 17-foot Checkmate Sportfire, I think it is. Something like that. Anyway, I came to the point with wood boats as I was spending more time maintaining them than boating, and more time on the water is what I'm after. Like wood boats, they're beautiful, and if you got the time, but the older you get, you're a lot more conscious of your time. But there you go. Long story short, tilt your outboard motors down in cold weather. Drain them, tilt them back up if you have to transport it. And then when you get to its final parking place, tilt it down. This way you have no problems. And over the winter, always winterize that stuff great. And here's a huge tip that I've discovered is for my boats and all my small engines, my jet skis, motorcycles too, lawnmower, I use non-ethanol gas. Actually, the carburetors on this thing, I had it happen on my motorcycle and this boat. The carburetors, the ethanol destroys any plastic or rubber. So like in the case of my motorcycle and this, a lot of these float valves, they have a rubber tip to seal against the, the seat. The float goes up as the carburetor bowl fills, and it pushes this little needle into a valve, and they have a rubber tip. Well, guess what? I found the ethanol, just rots that stuff. My motorcycle, which was running great, I didn't use it for a while. Just like this boat, started leaking gas out of the carburetor like crazy. And anyway, I pulled apart the one carburetor, and lo and behold, not only was the plastic, and I'm going to be doing a video on the motorcycle carburetors. I got my VMAX under here. For you people in the know, that was a great sport bike. Anyway, yeah, ethanol wreaks havoc on any rubber or plastic in your carburetor. So any small engines, motorcycles, jet skis, and a boat, if you can afford it, I think it's well worth the extra money because you don't have downtime. Rebuilding your carburetor, use the ethanol gas. And also in the wintertime, make sure you fog your engine. Even if it ain't running, spray the fogging thing, the fogging spray inside of each cylinder and rotate it by hand. Drain the carburetor if you can't run it, because you definitely got to put fuel stabilizer in it too. I like to use sea foam or stable, and they work great because fuel problems become big time consuming headaches. And if you're not mechanically inclined and don't have a clue what you're doing, it could be very costly to pay somebody and they take forever to fix it. That's why I became my own mechanic after, bringing something back repeatedly to a shop, and I kept getting it back with the same problem. I invested in a manual, learned it myself, and fixed it in like 20 minutes. And I swore from that day, I'll never bring anything to anybody to get fixed unless it's, not practical for me to do it. So that's another tip. Whenever you get an engine, jet ski, boat, whatever, outboard motor, the first 30-40 bucks I spend is on a manual because it's worth its weight in gold and more. Anyway, sorry this video took a little bit longer than I would have liked. Hit that like button if you appreciate this content. It helps me out. And stay safe. Peace out. More stuff coming. Have a great day. I'm going to be lifting a jet ski off that pallet onto a trailer, and I will show you my method in an upcoming video. All kinds of stuff like that. Anyway, peace out.